That's the thing with birds, is they can climb in stuff we can't climb in. Today I'm going to try and focus on thermaling and climbing as efficiently as possible. I'm going to just talk through what I'm doing and as I'm reacting to thermals in real conditions rather than just textbook stuff. Okay, launching. So the first thing, just launched, there are the pilots flying. I've already had one pilot do something a bit unexpected, just sort of turning right underneath me for no particular reason. They could have just waited a little bit longer. So straight away, I'm going to focus on trying to climb as efficiently as possible. And now I'm in a combination of ridge list and thermal, so thermodynamic. Here we are, and there's definitely a thermal here. So what I'm doing is I'm turning to stay in that lift area of lift. So here I've got the lift, now I'm nicely above the hill, I can turn nice and safe. Lesson number one here. So I decided to turn back here, to be honest, just to be a bit more away from other pilots. But then I see that a pilot upwind of me, this pilot on the yellow glider, which is Pete, he decided to turn a bit more upwind and climbed, and that was more efficient, so he gained on me. So now I've decided to push into wind a bit more to get into the lift and upwind a bit more and climb a bit better. And also what I'm looking for is trying to ensure I don't drift over the back of the hill too much. And again, now what I can see ahead of me is a seagull climbing nicely that other pilots don't seem to have spotted. Might not work, but I'm going to try and investigate that and hope it's actually a better bit of lift. And because it's a bit breezy, it's kind of more important to get yourself on the upwind edge of the climbs. Unfortunately, what you've got to watch out for is sometimes pilots are a bit too focused on climbing best and don't seem to be quite as focused on not hitting other pilots. I don't follow that sort of way of thinking myself, but that does seem to be what pilots do sometimes. And now I've got to work out where I want to go. I've got a few markers out in front of me and also clouds about, so now I need to kind of read the sky and work out where's the best way to go. Now looking ahead of me, I don't really see, it looks like a gap in the clouds up here. To be honest, the next clouds are quite far out front, but they seem to be, to me, more off to this side to the left. So I'm going to push out a bit more here. Also we've got that little group of buildings down below there. We've already got some climb now. I'm going to carry on pushing into wind a little longer. There we go, that feels better. You can see now my climb, I seem to have taken a better line than the other pilots there and found some more lift. So again, observation. Watching what other pilots are doing around you. But on the other hand, what's happening now is I'm getting drifted more downwind. So I certainly have gained in the short term. What I'm doing now is making sure as I push forward again, I push trying to follow the lifty line. Already I hope you've seen there, by observing the pilots around me, by looking at the clouds, looking around, looking for birds, seeing any birds, seagulls, and they're all markers. So by looking around, you can optimize your climb by just observing others. And always, please, 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 your priority is fly nicely with others first. Be a good pilot first. Then, after that, optimize your performance. Worry about your climb rate and stuff like that. Don't just stare at your vario and turn and cut people up. I mean, sometimes pilots do, just because they bowl everybody else out of the thermal and then they outclimb everyone, and they think they're a better pilot because they've outclimbed everyone, and they're not. They just pushed everyone else out of the thermal. So don't do that. Don't be that pilot. Now, obviously, I've been flying for over 30 years. I've got thousands of hours of flying, so I know that a lot of what I do without really thinking too much about it. Still, I find it really important to pay attention and look around and observe. And for thermaling, you just need to constantly feel where the best bit of lift is and keep adjusting, micro adjusting, and build up a mental picture in your head of where the best lift is. Generally, don't sit on your laurels too much. There's often a better bit of lift around you, so optimizing to try and find that best bit of lift is often worth doing. Then again, there comes a point where, especially if you're low, you found the lift, you're in it, stay in it. Work that bit of lift. Don't just wander off. Don't get impatient, always hoping there's going to be a better bit of lift. So yeah, don't be over impatient at the same time. So I think with paragliding, it's a real character test. Flying, you need to be very, very patient and very objective in your judgments. Oh, I'm getting a bit of lift here. So what I've done at least is I've put myself in a good position on the ridge, waiting for that cloud that's upwind, which hopefully has lift on it, to come and drift towards me. Definitely in front of me now, I've got two birds climbing, and they look like they're climbing well enough for me to climb too. That's the thing with birds, is they can climb in stuff we can't climb in. So now what I'm doing is I'm going around as I'm trying to map where the lift is. It's not a very big thermal, but there's not a bad bit in it. I'm going to try exploring a little bit around the other way. See if I can get the lift better. No, I'm better off where I was. So when there's a bit of breeze around, although the wind does seem to be easing, the thermals do unfortunately get blown flat. You have to really allow for the thermal drift. As I'm coming around, I'm going into the thermal. I'm having to try and picture it not just as a vertical column, but as a sort of leaning cylinder. On the other hand, I don't want to drift too far downwind, because I end up, usually the best part of the lift is at the front of the thermal, because it goes up faster. So when the thermals, because it's sloped with the wind, the thermal, the faster parts of the climb will be upwind. So I'm going into the lift, I'm feeling the push of the thermal, there's a shove, and I've already gone through this and worked out it's quite small. So I'm turning quite soon to come round in the thermal, straightening up, letting myself go back into that lift, and I'm timing the conversion of my turn to coincide with the surge of lift. So here I go, I'm letting the glider build up speed, going back into the lift, slightly widening my turn, trying to find that bit of lift. It might be it's fizzling. So I'm searching back around to see if I can find it. And here's a nice bit of lift, so I'm going to turn round in that. And I've dropped out of the side of it. I'm coming back into the lift. Here's a surge, lift increasing, and I feel it dropping off. So before I fall out, I'm a turn. So now I know this thermal kind of comes around, starts to climb, and then surges on the upwind side just before it drops off. So I need to not, I was waiting a bit too long. So when I feel the surge this time, I'm going to turn sooner so I don't fall out of it. There we go. From what I can see, either I've got to keep pushing to this next cloud or I go back and be happy with bingle about buoyant air back there. Bingling about in buoyant air back there. Not getting anything yet. I think we might just be too far away, the lift. I'm starting to get rained on. It's raining a bit. That isn't a very good conducive, isn't so good for lift usually. If it's raining, it's a sign the air's coming down. So I'm flying now downwind straight back to where I came from, hoping I might still get some buoyant air on the way. Now I'm going to have to change my direction to right because everyone below me is going right. It's probably going to make me lose out a little bit. That's fine. You can see there just by timing my turn. Generally, you generally avoid reversing your turn direction in thermals, but sometimes you have to. So here what's going on is the thermal is drifting and being squished by the wind. Also, if you ever see a plume of smoke rising up in the wind, you'll see how it kind of snakes and turns. It doesn't just go straight up. So I'm just deciding to carry on pushing out. And to me, the best thing I can see, there's a bit of a cumulus ahead of me here. I'm starting to get bits of lift again, but again, nothing quite good enough. Aha, that feels more like it. Waiting till I'm nicely in the lift. It feels good enough to turn in. So now I'm doing an exploratory turn. I'm going to come back round to the ridge this way. Well, I hope that's been useful. Just talking through what I'm doing as I'm thermaling, flying around, looking at the ridge, observation, working with others, keeping safe. Looks like it's kind of switching off a bit at the moment. Trying out B3s.